Good evening. It is time for today's Tax Talk. I'm your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. It is Wednesday, December 7th, the year of our Lord 2022. December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, and my grandmother's birthday. God rest her soul. So I always remember this day. It's a day that lives in infamy. But that's what today. Here's another why, because a lot of Democratic congressmen are coming out in opposition of the $600 Cash App. I predicted this was going to happen, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Won't you join us? Now, I don't want to take a lot of credit because I said it was going to happen, and it happened. Because it was predictable. Well, of course, I predicted it. It's predictable because it's happened before. During the Obamacare, they passed a law that every vendor that you did more than $600 in business with had to get a 1099. And even the IRS taxpayer advocate objected to that, said, that's ridiculous. You know what that'll cost? And we're not going to get that much money out of it. We won't even gather that much money. So the benefits were highly outweighed by the costs. And so it never even went into effect. This year, we do have something into effect, the 1099-K. And now there's there are congressmen out there, again, Democrat and Republicans. But remember, Republicans never voted for this. Right, so now the Democrats who voted for the American Rescue Plan that put this in place are now there's some Republicans did vote for that, but not very many. I think it was 13. Anyway, we have to now. They want to change it. Now they want to, and rightfully so, in my opinion. But let's go to the story and see where we stand here on the story. Okay, so as the story goes, let's see. Here we are. But first, I want to read this one because this is what's getting everybody. This is why they're going to change the rule. Okay? And I really think that they will change the rule before the beginning of the year. Maybe in this lame duck session, they may change it. So here's a story. Team Biden is using the IRS to attack the gig economy. Sorry, hipsters. A recent tweet says it all. Sam Bankman-Fried, however you pronounce it, I don't know where I like this because I don't know where $10 billion went. The Pentagon. We don't know where $2.2 trillion went. The IRS. You just sent $601.37. Don't forget to report it. So it's way out of whack, right? They're sending billions, trillions around the world and wasting it, and yet $600 they need from you. The 20, whatever that is, 20% of that. What's that? $20, $120? Doesn't make sense. The Biden administration is recruiting 87,000 IRS agents, allegedly to keep an eye on billionaires. But all appearances are that it's aiming at the little fish of the gig economy instead, taking payments for a side hustle via PayPal or Venmo. Not only is the IRS reminding you that those payments are a taxable income, it's deputizing those payment companies to snitch on you. The federal government can lose trillions, as a recent Pentagon audit noted, and nobody goes to jail. Sam Bankman-Fried can lose billions and so far, at least, be treated as a darling by members of Congress. Did you see the Maxine Waters blow him a kiss? Because he gave her a ton of money. To whom he donated. But you're expected to keep perfect records, and the corporate government machine that characterizes early 21st century American governance will be sure to keep a close tabs on you. As Leona Helmsley once said, taxes are for the little people. That just rang, didn't it? But wait, it gets worse. People get payments through these companies for all sorts of things, like gifts for family members, expense reimbursements from employers, even money from friends for medical expenses, etc. Venmo and PayPal may, and sometimes undoubtedly will, mischaracterize these tax-free gifts as something taxable. The IRS is taking away the art of the side hustle by making PayPal and Venmo payments taxable income. Well, no problem. You could just tell the IRS the Venmo is wrong, right? Oh no, that would be too easy. According to the IRS, those who receive a 1099-K reflecting income that they didn't earn shall call the issuer. The IRS cannot correct it. So if Venmo or PayPal mischaracterizes your non-taxable gifts as taxable income, you have to try to get Venmo or PayPal to change things. Good luck with that. You may wind up having to pay an accountant hundreds or thousands of dollars to straighten out the mess or face an IRS audit. The threshold used to be $20,000, but was lowered to $600 as part of the Democrats' American Rescue Plan. Oh, see, no Republicans voted for this monstrosity. I thought there was a couple for that. The legislation tightened the screws on the little guy, and that was no accident. As the Post editorialized in June, think about the next time Elizabeth Warren and AOC whine about the wealthy not paying their share. Yet the legislation they pass goes after hobbyists and little folks trying to earn a few bucks in various side hustles. It's only going to punish the U.S. economy a bit more. Some will have to charge more to make work worthwhile. Others will quit now that it means more paperwork and taxes. Disgraced crypto titan Sam Bankman-Fried is treated as a darling by some members of Congress. Why would Democrats do this? It almost seems as if they're hostile to self-employment and small business. Well, it seems that way because, in fact, they're hostile to self-employment and small interests. You may have noticed that in this area of social media mobbing, people get fired from those jobs when spineless employers are threatened by angry online mobs. But you can't get people fired from jobs when they work for themselves. Self-employed people, or even people with a second income from a side hustle, are more independent than people who depend on the employer's paycheck. Historically, this is why minority groups subject to bigotry and prejudice in the workplace have started their own businesses. You can't be fired for race or for your race or religion, or nowadays your politics, if you don't work for anyone to begin with. That kind of independence is anathema to today's Democrats, who have made pretty clear they want everyone under their thumb. Since the pandemic in which lockdowns gave preferential treatment to big box stores while brutally punishing small businesses, it's been a steady grinding down of small businesses and entrepreneurs. Well, except Bankman-Fried, sort of entrepreneurs who make six-figure donations to favorite politicians. This new rule is just another tightening of the screws. If everyone works for the government or a big corporation, that's it. That's in cahoots with the government. Everyone is controllable. And for Democrats, that's not a bug, but a feature. So I did a Google search. Let me see. Here it is, IRS $600 rule. And the news. So I just did this. Anger at IRS So look at all these stories about people angry about this. Made money online, you could owe more taxes. IRS warns Americans about $600 threshold. The IRS reminds Americans. PayPal and other apps could send surprise 1099-K. IRS warning Americans to report $600 transactions. IRS warns Americans over $600. So over and over and over again, tax season 2022, what to expect if you made money via PayPal. So I've been warning people about this since it passed. This is the result of these. Again, here it is. So here's the story. Here's a news story. Democrats pushed to loosen gig worker tax reporting threshold, but they're the ones that passed it. How could it be Democrats pushing to loosen it? And these are the problems with these bills that we pass, these omnibus bills, that have everything in it that we have to pass it to find out what's in it, because nobody reads it, nobody knows what's in it, and they just vote for it. So why didn't the Democrats who voted for this, I think unanimously or near unanimously, and the Republicans again did not vote for it at all, not one Republican voted for it. I think it was this 13 senators who voted for this. But in the House, no Republican voted for it. uh, they didn't read the bill, so they could have voted it out. They could have gotten together and said, no, we don't want that. We don't want that provision. But they didn't even read the bill, did they? So that's why it got passed, and they had to pass it to find out what's in it. And then once we find out what's in it, everybody gets angry about it because it's not fair and it's not right, because it's going to push a lot of this responsibility on others, and that's exactly what the IRS wants, right? They want to push this responsibility on others. So here's a group of vulnerable Democrats is pressing for higher earning threshold to trigger tax reporting requirements for gig workers and online sellers, arguing that the lower limit that began this year could lead to people paying more tax than they owe. I wonder where we heard that before. All these representatives that they list here, I'm not going to name them, plan to introduce legislation Tuesday that would provide some relief from the policy change that the Democrats enacted a year ago to help pay for the COVID-19 aid package. One of the reasons why they passed these bills is because they say, well, look, we're going to gather a lot more money from, if we make this change, we're going to get more money. That way I can spend it. So after they've already made the provisions to spend it, it doesn't matter if they ever get it in. It's already passed. So they don't have to care if they're going to get the money to pay for it. But before the bill passes, they have to say that they're going to pay for it. And that's exactly why these provisions are put into these bills. And then something like just what's going to happen here, it's going to be repealed, and they're not going to get the money that they said they were going to get from this change of the law. But it doesn't matter. The American Rescue Plan's already passed, and all the money that they had is already handed out. So it doesn't really matter, does it? The law slashed the threshold from receiving tax form based on third-party network transactions, a category that includes people who sell on sites like eBay or Etsy, whatever that is, drive for Uber or Lyft, host through Airbnb, or collect business payments through Venmo or PayPal. Many are part of a booming gig economy fueled by the growth of apps like Uber, Grubhub, and TaskRabbit. Previously, reporting was triggered when someone received payments at least 200 times a year, totaling a minimum of $20,000. The March 2021 pandemic aid law cut the limit down to $600 in payments starting this year, and a move estimated to generate $8.4 billion in tax revenue. See, that's what they were looking for, just to put it on the ledger, the $8.4 billion. Now we have $8.4 billion more to spend, but then they don't collect the $8.4 billion, but they still spend it. The measure from these Democrats would lift the reporting threshold to $5,000, retroactive to the start of 2022, and require plain language explanations to accompany the forms. The lawmakers emphasized that, as is, the rules could mean tax forms going out to people selling used clothes and other belongings online. I wonder who said that before. Those sellers often don't owe taxes on the transactions because they're selling items for less than what they originally paid for them. A used good sold for less than the original purchase price will not create any taxable income, yet these transactions will now trigger IRS reporting requirements, yielding confusion and ultimately over-reporting of income. Raising the reporting threshold will ensure sellers of used goods are not subject to the burdensome and confusing reporting requirements, which could result in overpayment as well as ineligibility for certain tax benefits. If leadership takes up the effort, it could deliver a win for Democrats expected to be in a close races in this November's midterm elections. This is a while ago, but this surprises me because I had another story here. Democrat representative from Illinois proposes legislation to radically increase IRS reporting threshold. This was today. And actually it was yesterday. And he is proposing legislation. He's co-sponsoring legislation. So this is happening today. This story must have been a couple right before the election. A new rule is just another tightening of the screws. Oh, I already read that. New Hampshire hasn't finished redistricting, which will have a significant impact on his race. House Republican proposed a map that would slant his district toward the GOP, although Governor Sununu, a Republican, is urging more competitive districts, according to local reports. Inside Elections hates rates his race tilt Democratic. A finance committee member, Hassan, is leading the push for several tax provisions that would reverse controversial changes Congress enacted in recent years, including measures she has to restore full and immediate expensing of research and development costs and revive a tax credit providing pandemic relief to small businesses and nonprofits for the end of 2021. Sinema isn't up for re-election until 2024, but the centrist senator has become a lightning rod on the left and could face a primary challenge in addition to tough GOP competition in a key swing state. The latest proposal is likely to find support, at least among some other House Democrats. So it didn't pass before the November election, and so here we are. Groups that weighed in on this issues related to the 1099-K reporting in 2021's final quarter included PayPal, Payment Service Square, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, according to the review of lobbying disclosures. The Electronic Transactions Association reported pressing for a repeal of the $600 threshold change. Members of that group include PayPal, Visa, American Express, and MasterCard. Critics of the move have pointed to the impact on taxpayers. When Democrats slipped the pay for into package last year, some said it would hit gig workers and small business owners hard as they struggled with the pandemic's impact. The IRS estimated in 2019 that workers subject to reporting and withholding of their taxes by employers pay 99% of the taxes they owe, while tax compliance is around 45% for those without the same reporting requirements. The revenue generated by the lower threshold by 1099-K reporting would come from uncollected taxes owed by gig workers and online sellers. The Biden administration has made narrowing the tax gap, we've talked a lot about that on the show, the difference between what's owed and paid to the government each year, a top objective. Democrats included $80 billion in extra IRS funding in their stalled $2.2 trillion social safety net and climate package, which isn't stalled anymore, and they got the $80 billion, which would largely fund enforcement efforts. So they were talking about changing it even before that, and they didn't. And so now they're trying to push it again. We'll see. I hope it does pass. I think the $5,000 is still too low. I think it should go to $10,000 or back up to the $20,000 and 200 transactions. That seemed fair, because I think if you're doing 200 transactions and $20,000, you're probably in business. And I've warned people about this. I've seen it coming. I saw it coming, and so and it's going to be a nightmare if they don't revisit this. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. I appreciate you taking the time. Remember, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. We need your help to get this information out. So please like and subscribe. Who else is telling you about these tax stories? I don't know if anybody else is. And remember, if you have IRS problems, if you have unfiled tax returns, if you owe the IRS money and you don't know what to do, first thing you should do, get a copy of my book, Deal with Your IRS Problem Today. Go to freeirsbook.com. That's freeirsbook.com. Get your free copy. I will pay for the printing if you will pay for the shipping and handling. So go to freeirsbook.com. With the shipping and handling, with the book comes some bonuses. You'll see that at freeirsbook.com. Again, we do ask you to pay for the shipping and handling. So thanks so much for visiting us here today. We'll be back here tomorrow with more tax stories, and we're going to ask you to join us. So God bless you, and we are out for the evening. Out.